Today I recorded this jam on the Digitakt and the Digitone, starting completely from scratch with this default sound on the Digitone right here. And now I'm going to talk you through what I did here and maybe tell you a thing or two about what these two machines do. First, I'm shaping the sound right here a little bit. I'm increasing the FM level of operator A here because otherwise it's not doing anything. Same for operator B. Also adjusting the envelope a little bit. I'm going to add a bit of vibrato, just a tiny little bit, because if it's too much, it's going to sound really wacky. Some chorus, delay, reverb. That's always nice. Yeah, sounds nice. It's a very kind sound, I think. A little bit of filtering. I'm making the envelope of the B operator really short. I'm adjusting the ratios of the B operators as well. And then increasing its level here, so I get this nice plucky attack. Now I'm sampling a little bit of what I just played on the Digitone on the Digitakt. I just press record after I played the chord because I don't need the clicky attack here. I just want the chord. And then I assigned it to this track 8 on the Digitakt. And now I can play this chord here, or I can enter some rhythm with it in the sequencer. I'm making it a bit slower. And now this gives me a nice backdrop to play on top of. Because it's just a major chord, the chord I sampled, this works nicely with both the root and the minor parallel. With the minor parallel, what you get is a minor 7th chord. Adjusting the envelope here a little bit of the sample. And now I'm gonna add some percussion, maybe just 4 beats with the cowbell. I'm using the default Digitakt kit here. Now it sounds a bit out of place, the cowbell here, so I'm gonna filter it. Add some delay. And now I'm switching to track 2 here on the Digitone, and what I want to do here is add a bassline with those 2 bass notes I mentioned earlier. But in order to be able to do that, I have to make this sequence longer. So I set this to per track and to 64 steps, which gives me 4 bars. And now I'm gonna record this very simple bassline, just 2 notes. I have to do it over here because I started on the wrong measure. Now I'm adjusting the bass sound a little bit here. I'm trying to get some more low end by setting the ratio of the A operator to 0.5, which should give me an octave below, and then increasing the level a bit. I think I partly succeeded here. I'm going back to my lead sound and trying to figure out some melody I can record into the sequencer as well. Now I'll have to set the length of this to 64 steps as well, so I can play 2 different melody phrases. Now I'm just trying to figure out what they should be. That's not it. Yeah, but I'm getting there. And I'm recording. It's always tricky to switch the octave while you're playing. It'd be easier with a proper keyboard. Gonna quantize this. But as you can see in the sequencer right now, this last low note got quantized to step 2 and not step 1. So what I'm going to do here is copy it, paste it to step 1, and then it should be good. Oh, same problem with the second melody phrase. So I'm going to do this here as well. And now everything sounds the way I wanted it to. So I'm going back to the Digitakt and entering some more rhythm stuff here, starting with the bass drum, maybe a couple more hits. And then a couple of claps for backbeats. And I'll make the envelope shorter. Adding some more claps. What I'm going to do here is assign those to a fill. You do this by going to the trig menu and then on the top right here set this to fill. And then here again I'm going to copy this trigger because it's easier. I don't have to assign each one to fill, and then I can paste those to other steps. And now when I hold the page button, one more here. When I hold the page button, I can hear my fill claps. Next, I'm going to enter a full grid of 16th notes for the hi-hat. I'm going to make this short as well. Now it still sounds a bit stiff, so I'm going to add an LFO, which is going to modulate the decay of this hi-hat. And I'm going to add another one here, modulating the attack time to make things even more interesting. I'm going to filter my melody sequence a bit because it's already starting to get on my nerves. So I'm going to try to make this a bit more interesting as well by modulating the cutoff frequency of the filter. And then I'll make this LFO a bit slower. And with the mode set to free running, the LFOs for all the different voices are going to be out of phase, so I'm going to try a different mode here. With the mode set to sync, they're going to be all the same, which is also not what I want, so I'm going to set it to hold. And then it's back to the Digitakt. I'm going to see what I can do with the sample here. Maybe a bit of high pass filtering, some sample rate reduction. I'm going to pitch it up 1 octave, some bit reduction as well, and then a lot of reverb, and then I'm going to make the reverb longer, and then I'm going to give this melody a break because I've had enough of it, and I'm going to focus on that drum some more. I'm going to add some snares. I'm entering the same dotted quarter notes pattern here, but offset by 1/8 note. And here I'm gonna add an LFO right off the bat, modulating the decay time, set this to sample and hold so we get random decay times for the snares. You can easily hear that now, that after every bass drum, at least in the first half of the measure, there's a snare hit. Now I redirected my attention back to the bass sound. Still trying to make it sound a bit lower and give it some more character. Just messing with the FM ratios and levels here and the envelopes. And here's the melody again. Now I switch to track 4. What I'm gonna do here is add an arpeggio. First I entered this chord here on step 1, and I'm gonna filter it so I can bring it back in gradually later. Turn down the arpeggiator, and now what I have to do is make this trigger really long so it lasts for the entire bar. I'm trying to fade it in here, but I forgot to unmute the track, and now here it is. And now I'm gonna mess with the FM settings here as well a little bit, just trial and error. here I'm using an LFO to modulate the level of operator B. Chorus and delay. I think these really short envelopes always work nicely for those FM plugs, especially when they run into a lot of reverb and delay. I'm using the second filter here for some high-pass filtering. The second filter is very soft, so I often use it more as an EQ than a proper filter. Trying some different settings for this LFO which modulates the level of operators B. And then it's time to give the kick drum a break. And maybe the hi-hats as well, to shift the focus a bit more towards the digitone. And I'm trying to improve this melody I started with, which doesn't sound very grown up yet. I'm adjusting the delay settings. Adjusting the delay setting adjusts the delay for all the tracks on the digitone. And this goes for the Digitakt as well. The reverb and delay are cents, so you cannot have different delay times for different tracks. They're all using the same delay. When you're holding the track button and then adjusting a parameter, you're gonna adjust this parameter for all 8 tracks, which can be a really cool performance feature. It's good practice though, I think, to press the save pattern button first, so you can always go back to what you had before, because that can be kind of tricky if you don't. Here I'm doing the same thing again with the filter, so you can hear I've filtered all 8 tracks. Super useful. And again, the same thing happens on the digitone when you hold the MIDI button. This is the ARP track I'm adjusting the sound of right now. I'm just playing around with the FM filters and the FM ratios, which is just a lot of fun. This mix setting, by the way, in case you're wondering what it does, on the left side on the screen you can see the 2 different outputs, X and Y, and the mix setting mixes together the 2 outputs. Here one more time, holding the track button and increasing the filter cutoff does this for all 8 tracks, which is especially useful when you have all of them set to a low pass filter. So I'm back with my melody track. I'm going to try to make this more interesting by using an LFO. Here I'm using a sample and hold with the mode set to hold on the volume, which does make things more interesting, I think. It makes some notes almost drop out. And here I'm getting rid of the sample rate reduction for my sample. Trying some different octave settings for the pitch. I'm increasing the resonance of the filter here to make those notes with a high volume pop out even more. In the master section of the Digitakt there's a compressor, and you can also pick a sidechain source for this. So I'm picking track 1 here, which is the bass drum, and you don't have to do what I'm doing here. If you want to make up for the lost gain, there's a makeup gain setting on the top right here, which I realized shortly after I turned the master volume knob. In the master section of the digitone there's no compressor, but there's a drive, so I'm giving this a try here. Here I'm holding the page button so I can hear the snare fills I set up earlier. When you hold record and then press play, you can real-time record stuff on the Digitakt. So I'm recording some open hats here, making them shorter and adding a lot of delay. Holding function and pressing bang brings you to the mute mode, which lets you quickly mute multiple tracks at once. Now with the overdrive on the master and the compressor on the Digitakt's master, Digitone's going through the compressor as well because it's going into the Digitakt. The resonance on my melody here made things sound a bit harsh, so I dialed it back a little bit. Now here again, I'm filtering both active tracks on the Digitakt at the same time by holding the track button. And yeah, we're already getting close to the end of this little jam session with commentary. I guess this didn't turn out to be a masterpiece, but I'm hoping that it shows that you can quickly and easily put something together from scratch with those two boxes, and also that they make a great pair. With the Digitone by itself, I sometimes run out of voices, which is what's happening right here, because the ARP's still running in the background, even though we can barely hear it. Once I release the buttons, the sound gets cut off, which is the reason why I'm using track 4 here. So now I should be able to release the buttons without the sound being cut off abruptly. And with the Digitakt by itself, on the other hand, you can get quite a lot of things done, but you don't have any proper polyphony. So having both of them in front of me at the same time makes me very happy, and there's really nothing left to be desired. So I'm definitely done talking now. I'll leave you with this little outro, and I hope you found this interesting or useful. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye bye.